Good evening. Welcome to the city property meeting. It is April 28th at 6:30 p.m. Present this evening, we have Councillors Boschman, Fleming, Green, Squalia, and myself, Councillor Zarella. We have 3 items on the agenda tonight. The first 2, again, are 04120 and 04220. Ordered that the mayor is authorized to execute documents relative to a lease to AKS Recycling. We have not received the final forms of those documents still. So I would request, unless someone thinks otherwise, that we have a motion to hold again.
So motion to hold. Second.
All right, I have a motion and second. I will conduct the roll. Councillor Boschman.
Okay.
Councillor Fleming.
Yes.
Councillor Green.
Yes.
Councillor Squalia.
Yay.
And I'm also a yay. It's unanimous. That is held. The remaining item on our agenda, 04620, Councillors Marissa Fleming and Marcus DiNatale to declare Ethier Street a public way. We do have unofficial communication on that from Commissioner Nick Bossanetto of the Department of Public Works. I am going to summarize that for the record. We'll put the full document in, but it's rather long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. The gist of it is that DPW Engineering Division has reviewed the plans and inspected the construction and associate drainage system, and it was built per specifications. The drainage system has not been maintained and will require quite a bit of maintenance. However, there are only 2 ways we can take title to the street as a public way. One is dedication and acceptance, which is basically a voluntary donation of the rights in the public way from the developer to the city, and the other is eminent domain. We have not received all of the necessary information and documents from the developer to do a dedication and acceptance. So if we were to proceed with declaring it a public way at this time, it would have to be by eminent domain, which would require a fair bit of time and expense. And that is the gist of it. We'll put that on the record. I have Councillor Squalia.
In the last Public Works Committee meeting that I attended, there was discussion on Ethier Street, and it was noted that the developer had, there was some money that was owed to the city on some properties. I don't remember exactly the amounts, $10,000, $15,000. And then there was the retention basin needed maintenance. I think that was what you referenced. Was there anything in his letter that referenced any tax liability or money implication when it comes to the developer and taxes he owed?
There is not in the letter. However, I wouldn't really expect there to be, since that's not really his department. But that does ring a bell with me as well. My understanding at least is that if we were to go the eminent domain route, that would offset some of the cost, but we would still need to do a taking from the individual property owners as well, who have easements and rights of way over the street. So that would still complicate things. But yes, that is, I agree, that's something to keep in mind as we move forward on this. I have Councillor Boschman.
On this thing here, when I went up there to look at Ethier Street last week, when we were going to vote on it the first time, the redemption pond, I will not accept Ethier Street at this time. The redemption pond needs a lot of work. It's full of debris, overgrowth, and everything else. The commissioner doesn't talk about the island in the middle. He told me numerous times that they don't want to accept the island in the middle because they don't have the people to maintain it. Now, did I hear you correctly? Because I didn't see that letter that he sent out today. You said that the engineers checked that off in the process Because I asked for that documentation to be sent to me, and I never received it.
I have not seen that documentation specifically either, but it is referenced that at least the street itself is built to spec. I don't know what the scope of that inspection entailed.
The reason why, Mr. Chair, I'm asking all these questions is because I'm tired of paying. If you look back at Arbor Way, we accepted Arbor Way many years ago. Now we're going to pay about $1 million to get it fixed, make it safe again. We have no kind of documentation. We can't go back after the person that accepted this as an engineer to fall back on the guy and say, hey, you're not doing your job right. There's something wrong with the system, and the system is broken. I mean, just last year, and Council Green can verify this, we accepted Tibbet Way, and we got to go up there and fix it because there's a big puddle in the road. The water doesn't drain right. I mean, I want some kind of documentation that says, just like when you're renovating a house, the inspector comes in and he signs it off. Yes, the installation's done. Yes, the water pipes are in. Yes, the roof is on. And like that, we don't have any kind of system like that. I mean, just because we've been driving on it for 20 years doesn't make it a street. Because if we're going to do that, then we might as well go with all private ways and say they're legal streets. We don't, and we're telling them we can't accept them because we don't have the documentation to say the road was made to the specs. And all I want to see is the specs. And I want the drainage part, the indention place fixed. I don't want the DPW doing it. I think he should do it. He should fix it. It's his property. Let him clean it out. Let him take the overgrowth out before we accept it. And I want some verification who's going to maintain the island in the middle of the street. Because according to what I've told, we don't have the manpower to go up there and take care of it. So who's going to be responsible for that before I vote for this street? So I'm not going to vote for this tonight.
I have Councillor Fleming. Before I go to you, I just want to really quick, I forgot to ask Councillor Squalia if she was done before moving on to Councillor Boschman. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off. Was there anything else? That's fine. All right, Councillor Fleming?
Yeah, I want to actually echo what Councillor Boschman was saying. It was myself and Councillor Di Natale who submitted this petition. And after reading the email today from Commissioner Bassonetto, we had some discussion. And we both feel that the developer left a lot of loose ends. And he never took care of what he was supposed to take care of. And I don't think at this point that we should be taking over a street that a developer who promised to do work never did. I don't think we need to pick up that portion of it and pay for all these fixes. I think we have to somehow get back to the developer and force him to make the upgrade that he was supposed to make. Although this is a private way, it is a dead end, it's not used by a lot of people. There are people living on that road, and he should address those issues before we as a city take it over and continue with what he started. And I have spoken to the developer. I see him from time to time, and it just doesn't seem to be a priority right now with him. So I don't know what we should do, if we should hold this till we can get some further response from the developer.
I would be in favor of holding because I haven't read this communication.
Okay.
Councillor Green?
Yeah, years ago, as Councillor Boschman can attest to, we have been stung before with these things in place called ASBUTs, where developers were supposed to be held responsible for roads and developments being completed. that were never completed. And then the city of Fitchburg is now being held responsible for that work to be completed. We can no longer afford to do that. And this is a perfect example of a little bitty dead end street that needs lots of work that's going to cost our community lots of money to get done. I'm not willing to have the taxpayers foot that bill for this developer who doesn't have the time, the funds, or the resources to get it done. Not our fault, not the taxpayers' fault to do that. And until we hold his feet to the fire, it's not going to get done. So I don't feel like bailing him out to get it done. So I'm not going to be ever in favor of having this become a city street. Not our responsibility, not our fault. Wasn't ever part of our deal to correct this. It was his deal when we granted him the right to have him put in the houses that he gained financial from being granted the houses being developed by it. So I'm not going to vote to have it ever be granted as a Fitchburg street. That's my view. Thank you.
I have Councillor Fleming again.
Yeah, before we make a motion on this, I just want to ensure that going forward with having the developer do what he needs to do is not going to cost the city a large amount of money to do that. I want to make sure it's done through the right channels, whether it be zoning, building department, planning board, but he does need to get done what he has to get done. I mean, because he has many other projects going on. This is not his priority right now. So, like I said, before we make the motion, I just want to make sure that it's not going to cost Fitchburg a lot of money to do that.
Councillor Squalia?
I agree that, with Councillor Fleming, that we shouldn't have to pay a lot to do this. But I would like to add, I believe that once the developer does what is necessary, that proves that the street is up to city standard, maintains the retention basin, whatever needs to be done there, and maybe the neighbors have some sort of community arrangement to maintain the island, that I would be in favor of accepting Ethier as a city street, as long as all the requirements according to the city engineer have been met. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, so I do see Councillor Boschman's motion for leave to withdraw. Before I ask for a second on that, I want to make sure everyone's been heard. So I've got Councillor Fleming again.
I don't know if this is a question you can answer, but would this be something the city would go after, or the residents that bought into that neighborhood? That's a question that I think needs to be addressed before we can do anything.
Yeah, I'm shooting a little bit from the hip here,
yeah,
but I am reasonably certain that it would be something that the residents would need to pursue against the developer, because as of right now, to the best of my knowledge, the developer has not entered into contracts or covenants with the city. So that would be something where I suspect, though, of course, we'll run it by the city solicitor, that it may be something where the residents may need to either individually or pooling resources retain an attorney and demand that this be done so that the city can then take on the street as the residents would like us to do. Does that answer your question? It
does, but I just want to add that I feel for the people on this street. I've been on this street, so I have a lot of empathy for the people that are having to endure what's going on that street. However, if we take this on as a city, we're going to have to do that with every other street in the city that a developer failed to finish. And I just want to make it clear that it's not about anything more than having the developer do what he needs to do before we can take this over.
Agreed. Councillor Green?
Again, this is why best business practice always need to be in place, because I'm positive that we probably don't have a bond order from this developer that clearly stated, X, Y, and Z that needed to be done before we wrote off on this development. And now there's no recourse on how he's going to finish and how the work is going to be done, and in a timely fashion. So who's footing the bill? Here again, the city of Fitchburg is probably going to have to foot the bill for the attorney, the city solicitor, to look into this or to give the advice to the residents, or we're going to have our city engineers go up and look at the retention pond or the island in the middle or the culverts, or to make sure that the street is wide enough, or where the drains are going to have to be, and, where are people going to pardon me, provide them with the, the waste receptacles. This is going to cost those residents money to get this done, when it should have been part of the original agreement way back when this was going to be an original housing development for these residents. That's all.
Councillor Boschman?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa. Aren't we plowing that street already? And isn't the trash being picked up?
Well, I believe that they are being plowed, but there's other issues going on. There's the flooding. They plow, they make a pass. That's it. The trash, I can't answer that. But I believe the trash has to be brought down to the end of the road. I don't think the trash actually goes up on that street.
So, and you're saying there's flooding up there?
Well, there's a lot of issues up there.
Well, I'm not going to accept this. I think we ought to give it leave to withdraw, really, and let them come back in front of us.
So at this time, there are essentially, assuming that we're all concurring that we don't want to accept this right now, there are effectively 3 courses of action we can take. We can give it leave to withdraw. Well, really 4, but yeah, 3. We can give it leave to withdraw and just have it resubmitted once everything's worked out with the developer, if it ever is. We can continue to hold it, in which case we'll be voting to hold it every time we have a meeting, basically, until it gets resolved. Or we can table it, which basically means it will be noted on the agenda every time, but we won't have to act on it until we make a motion to take it off the table and act further on it. So those are... I have a motion and second to table. I did, before I have that, just procedurally speaking, I already had a motion from Councillor Boschman to give leave to withdraw. So do I have a second on that? Okay, hearing none, I now have a motion and second to table. Anyone speaking on the motion? Councillor Green. Councillor Green.
Sorry, I can't type fast enough before I can raise my hand.
No, that's all right. I saw you the first time.
Okay, and it's just a procedural motion to table. Does that mean then that we could ask for either a written summary or something? I would like to hear from the developer. I think we should hold the developer accountable, or at least find out for him to address the concerns in that area. There are some legitimate concerns from that street. So if we table the motion, knowing that the end result is that we would like to see the street become a public way, that's our end result for the benefit of the residents, then can we hold the developer accountable and ask for a timeline on when he's going to finish the work that he promised in the first place in order for us to have granted him the right to build those homes in the first place?
So we as a council can ask or demand whatever we'd like, but we can't really put any teeth behind it as a council. As a city, it would really come down to, as you mentioned, whether we have any kind of bond or any other binding agreement that he signed on to get his development in the first place. And I don't know off the top of my head. But that is something we can look into whether we table it or not, really. All tabling it does is essentially, it's like holding it, but indefinitely until we vote to bring it in front of us again. So basically it would just sit there until such time as we decide to act on it again.
Just so we don't have to keep bringing it up at every meeting that we're not addressing it. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to hold it up in committee, but I do think that it's important that we make the developer accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I completely agree. Councillor Squalia, you had something?
Yes, I just wanted to add, I haven't read the communication, which is why I'm not in favor of giving it leave to withdraw. So I would like to read the communication, and I agree with Councillor Green. I'd like to hear something from the developer on what the plans are, and so tabling it, I think, is the right move, and then we don't have to keep discussing what we don't know about it. And when at the next meeting that we want to discuss it, we can just motion to take it off the table. Right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
There we go. Thank you.
No problem, Councillor Boschman.
I want to say one thing. I don't believe it's the city's responsibility to go after the developer and have them fix the street. I don't think it's our responsibility. It's the responsibility of people that bought the houses with their understanding that he was going to make that a street to be safe and to be drive on. That's their responsibility, not the taxpayers, not us, to take care of that street. We shouldn't have to do that. They bought the house up there with the understanding he was going to finish the project and make it a street. So why should I use natural resources or pay for my city solicitor to go after the developer when it's not our responsibility? It's not our responsibility to do that. It's the people that bought the houses up there. If they want that street, then they're going to have to organize together and go after them, just like they do on other developments. It isn't us. We have, I don't know if they held a bond. Did they, Mr. Chair, do you know if they have a bond?
That's what we've been trying to ascertain. That's something that I'm going to contact the city solicitor about later this evening or tomorrow.
But that's how I feel. I don't think that we, as a city, should go after this guy to say, hey, you got to do that work. It's not our job. It's the homeowners up there to go after them. To go after him, they paid $12 for the houses, so let them go after him. Not us. Finish the job. I'm sorry from point blank, but I just don't want to keep on paying. That's it. That's it. I'll table it.
Anyone else on the motion? All right, so Councillor Boschman is a yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Fleming.
Yeah, I just want to add something. These are taxpayers in the city. And I don't know how many of these people were first-time home buyers, but as a first-time home buyer, there's a lot of mistakes you make and a lot of things you don't read. They are taxpayers, and we should treat them as taxpayers. They're looking to have something done that we should be behind them, not actually do the work and pay for it, but let them know the city's behind them, that we want this to be fixed. And if there's anything we can do to help that along, we should do that. You know, so yeah, I just want to add that. I mean, it is my ward, but it's not just because it's my ward, it's because I'm a taxpayer. And I think all taxpayers should be treated equal as best we can. help them with their situation.
Certainly, I agree. I don't think we should be footing the bill for this, either for the repairs or for the compliance. But I do think that what leverage we do have, if any, as a city, that we can apply to get this taken care of. That's what we're here for. That's what I mean. I believe very strongly that government only exists to benefit the governed. So if there is something we can do to move this along, then we certainly should. If it turns out there's nothing we can do without actually opening up the pocketbook and, paying from the city accounts, then there's nothing we can do. But we should at least look into it first and see what can be done. So, anyone else on the motion? All right, Councillor Boschman.
Table, yes.
Councillor Fleming.
Yes.
Councillor Green.
Yes.
Councillor Squalia.
Yay.
It is unanimous. The matter is tabled. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Councillor Boschman.
Oh, I said yes.
Yes, okay. Councillor Fleming.
Yes.
Councillor Green.
Yes.
Councillor Squalia.
Yay.
And I will allow it to be unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
And
Bye, guys.
Thank you.